Hi students, welcome back to Google Classroom Sri Gokulam Public School, Guruvayur. How are you children? Hope you all are fine over there.
In the previous class, we have already discussed about different sources of business finance and its main merits and limitations also. Hope you learned that portions. Today we will discuss about international financing. There are various ways for organizations to raise funds internationally. So, let's discuss the various sources of international financing. The first one is commercial banks. Commercial banks are an important source of financing non-trade international operations. Commercial banks all over the world extend foreign currency loans for business purposes. The types of loans and services provided by commercial banks vary from country to country. And the next one is international agencies and development banks. International agencies and development banks provide long-term and medium-term loans. It grants to promote the development of economically backward areas in the world. These bodies were set up by the governments of developed countries of the world at the national, regional and international level for funding various projects. Examples of these bodies are International Finance Corporation, Exim Bank and Asian Development Bank. And the next source of international financing is international capital markets. Prominent financial instruments used in international capital market are, first one is Global Depository Receipt. Shortly we can say GDR. Then what is Global Depository Receipts? The local currency shares of a company are delivered to the depository bank. The depository bank issues depository receipts against these shares. Such depository receipts denominated in US dollars are known as Global Depository Receipts. Though some companies have issued GDRs in British pounds and euros also, while Indian companies have issued GDRs in US dollars. And GDR is a negotiable instrument and it can be traded freely like any other security. And it is convertible into equity shares at the option of the GDR holder. That means a holder of GDR can at any time convert it into the number of shares it represents. Besides, the holders of GDRs do not carry any voting rights. They get voting rights only after converting their GDRs into equity shares. So these are the main features of Global Depository Receipts. And the next financial instrument is American Depository Receipts. Shortly we can say ADR. Then what is American Depository Receipts? The depository receipts issued by a company in the USA are known as American Depository Receipts. Like GDR, ADR is also a negotiable financial instrument. And ADRs are bought and sold in American markets like regular stocks. And it can be listed and traded on a stock exchange of USA only, not throughout the world. So, these are the main features of American Depository Receipts. And the next financial instrument is Indian Depository Receipt. Shortly we can say IDR. An Indian Depository Receipts is a financial instrument denominated in Indian rupees in the form of a depository receipt. And holders of IDRs get all rights attached with the shares like dividend, bonus shares, etc. IDR is created by an Indian depository to enable a foreign company to raise funds from the Indian securities market. According to SEBI guidelines, IDRs are issued to Indian residents in the same way as domestic shares are issued. So these are the main features of Indian Depository Receipt. Now let's discuss the last financial instrument used in international capital markets are foreign currency convertible bonds. Shortly we can say FCCB. Foreign currency convertible bonds are equity-linked debt securities that are to be converted into equity or depository receipts after a specified period. And FCCBs are issued in a foreign currency and it carry a fixed interest rate which is lower than the rate of any other similar non-convertible debt instrument. And FCCBs are listed and traded in foreign stock exchanges. So these are the main features of foreign currency convertible bonds. Now let's discuss the factors affecting the choice of the source of funds. The first one is cost. Before finalizing any source of finance, the company must find out the cost involved in procurement of funds and cost involved in using the funds. Both the cost must be less than the benefits which they get by using that source of funds. And the next factor is financial strength and stability of operations. If the firm is financially sound, then it may prefer borrowed fund because it will be able to repay the borrowed fund and it can easily pay the interest amount also. But if the firm is not financially stable, then it must depend upon the owner's fund securities. And the next factor is form of business organization. Sole proprietorship firm and partnership firm cannot raise funds by issue of shares or debentures. So they have to depend upon factoring, leasing, trade credit, etc. Whereas joint stock companies prefer issue of shares and debentures to raise funds. Another factor which helps in deciding the source of fund is time period. A short-term need can be met through borrowing funds at a low rate of interest. For example, trade credit, commercial paper, etc. For long-term finance, sources such as issue of shares and debentures are more appropriate. And the next factor is risk profile. If a business firm can bear the risk, then only it should go for borrowed fund. Otherwise, it should prefer owner's fund securities. And the next factor is control. A particular source of fund may affect the control and power of the owners on the management of a firm. For example, equity shareholders are considered as the real owners of the business because they have complete control over the business. And the next factor is effect on credit worthiness. The dependence of business on certain sources may affect its credit worthiness in the market. That means some sources of finance mortgage the assets of the firms and reduces its credit worthiness. For example, debentures, secured loan, etc. Whereas some sources such as shares, unsecured loan, etc. do not put claim over the assets. Hence, the result is no reduction in credit worthiness. And the next factor is flexibility. Sometimes the financial institutions which provide long-term debt to companies put certain restrictions on the companies which restrict the flexibility of the company. So, if other options are easily available, then the firms don't prefer loans from financial institutions and banks which put restrictions. And the last factor is tax benefit. Interest on debentures, loans are deducted from the total income of the company before calculating income tax, whereas dividend paid to equity shareholders is not deducted from the total income. So, if a firm wants to get tax benefit, it should issue debentures, preference shares, loans, public deposits, etc. These are the main factors affecting the choice of the source of funds.
So students, I hope all of you understood the concept clearly. And please note that the notes of the lesson and test paper are also attached along with the class. Make use of these available materials. Study well and attend the test paper without fail. That's all for today. Thank you.